The intersection is pure chaos. Horns screaming, headlights slicing through the haze, voices yelling from half-open windows. And right in the middle of it all, Samira James. Car door wide open, hands flying, voice cutting through everything else. You think you own the road? You think that fancy car gives you the right to almost kill people? The luxury sedan just sits there, engine humming, tinted windows throwing her own fury back at her face. She doesn't care anymore. I see you hiding in there. Yeah, you with your imported ride and your terrible driving. You almost ran me off the road and you can't even apologize? Her phone's buzzing, probably her manager. 14 missed calls from bill collectors. Student loan payment overdue. Again. But right now, all that rage, every bit of humiliation from today, every condescending word, every robotic voice telling her she's behind, it's pouring out at this car, at whoever's inside thinking they matter more than she does. The window finally rolls down. She sees his face. Young, Korean, disturbingly calm. Eyes that don't blink, don't react, like he's watching something he can't quite figure out. You should stop, he says quietly, accent thick. For your own safety. That just makes her angrier. For my safety? You almost killed me and you're warning me? He doesn't argue, doesn't defend himself, just keeps watching with that unreadable expression, while phones light up everywhere, strangers recording, laughing, already uploading. The light turns green, his car glides away smooth as glass. Samira stands there, chest heaving, surrounded by people who think they just saw something funny. She has absolutely no idea what she just started. Welcome to K-Stories by Emma. Before we continue, please like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss any story. Hey besties, Emma here for a quick moment before we continue. If these stories ever stay on your mind a little longer than expected, if you sometimes wish you could sit with certain scenes just a bit more, I've made a small private space on Telegram for that. It's where I share short micro stories, quiet, intense moments that don't always make it into the main videos. Members there also get early peeks at new story intros, upcoming titles, and sometimes help shape future stories with me. It's peaceful, personal, and made for people who truly feel the stories. The link is in the description or pinned comment if you'd like to join us. Now, let's get back into the story. But let's rewind, because that intersection, that explosion, it didn't come from nowhere. Samira's alarm never went off. She woke up 20 minutes late, phone dead on the nightstand, sunlight already brutal through her blinds. The apartment was silent. Kendra left early for her shift. Samira was alone with one thought pounding in her head. Today is already over. Her job at the medical billing office in downtown Tulsa started bad and got worse. Gretchen, her supervisor, the kind of woman who smiled with her mouth but kept ice behind her eyes, called Samira in before 9. There's been a discrepancy, Gretchen said, sliding a folder across the desk, in the patient accounts you processed. Samira's stomach dropped. She knew she'd double-checked every single entry, triple-checked some of them. I didn't make any errors. Gretchen's smile didn't move. Well, someone did. No proof, no specifics, just enough suspicion to make Samira feel 2 inches tall, just enough to remind her she was replaceable. Lunch didn't happen. A system crash kept her chained to her desk, stomach growling, fingers cramping, fixing problems she didn't create. By 4 in the afternoon, her phone was exploding with notifications. Past due electric bill, text from her landlord about next month's rent already, voicemail from her mom saying she sounded tired lately, asking if everything was okay. Everything was not okay. She left work completely drained. The sky outside was bruising purple, clouds heavy with something that felt like a warning. Traffic on the highway stretched forever, brake lights glowing red like angry eyes. Her gas light blinked on. $12 in her checking account. Payday wasn't until Friday. Samira felt it then, that crushing weight of being invisible, of being just a name on a spreadsheet, a voice stuck on hold, a person nobody noticed until something went wrong. She was tired, so tired of being good, being polite, being quiet. Something inside her was unraveling. She merged onto Cherry Street, half focused, half numb. That's when the luxury sedan cut her off. No signal, no warning, just swerved into her lane like she didn't exist. Samira slammed the brakes. Her coffee exploded across the passenger seat, hot liquid everywhere. Her heart jackhammered against her ribs. And something snapped. She followed that car through two lights, anger building with every second, every breath, until they both stopped at the intersection. That's when she threw open her door and got out. Standing in the street, screaming at tinted windows, she caught her own reflection in the glass, wild-eyed, hair everywhere, face she barely recognized. For 1 second, she didn't know who she was looking at. Then the window rolled down. She saw him, that calm, unnerving face, those words, "For your own safety." The light changed, he drove away, and Samira stood there shaking while a dozen phones captured everything. Tiny cameras in a courtroom she didn't know she'd just walked into. By the time she got home, she was already everywhere. The question is, did she just yell at the wrong person, or the most dangerous person she'll ever meet? Kendra was laughing so hard tears streamed down her face. The second Samira walked through the door, phone got shoved in her face. "Girl, you're famous." Samira blinked at the screen. It was her, standing in that intersection, yelling, looking absolutely unhinged. The video was everywhere. TikTok, Twitter, Instagram Reels. The caption read, "Woman destroys rich guy in traffic." 127,000 views in 3 hours. The comments were wild. "She said what we all thinkin'. That car costs more than my house and he can't even drive it? Queen energy. Somebody said that's a custom import like $500,000. He definitely deserved it." Samira watched herself on screen, horrified and fascinated in equal measure. She sounded angrier than she remembered, looked tiny next to that massive car. The man's face was barely visible through the cracked window, but people were already building entire theories. Tech CEO, foreign diplomat, some trust fund brat slumming it in Oklahoma. Kendra thought the whole thing was perfect. You told him about himself. That's exactly what he gets for driving like that. Samira tried to laugh, read comments out loud in ridiculous voices, made jokes about starting a motivational speaking career, how to confront rich jerks in traffic, a masterclass. But something kept nagging at her. The way he'd looked at her, not angry, not offended, just watching, like he was memorizing her face. For your own safety? What kind of person says that? At first, the attention felt good. Coworkers texted her throughout the day. Strangers at the gas station recognized her and grinned. One guy even asked for a selfie. It was ridiculous, sure, but it felt nice being seen, being noticed. After years of being invisible, this was something. But by evening, the shine wore off. The video hit 15,000 shares. Her face was crystal clear in every frame. His, barely visible. People started finding her social media, commenting on photos from 2 years ago, asking where she worked, what her full name was. One comment just said, "Found her, Tulsa, medical billing at Mercy." Her stomach twisted. She made everything private, deleted comments that felt too personal, too invasive, like someone was getting too close. Around 9, she took the trash out. The parking lot behind her building was mostly empty. Streetlights flickered overhead, casting everything in sickly yellow. That's when she saw it. Black SUV, parked 3 spaces from the dumpster, tinted windows, engine off, but there was someone inside. She could see the faint blue glow of a phone screen. Samira froze. The SUV didn't move, didn't leave, just sat there. She backed toward her building, trash bag forgotten, eyes locked on those tinted windows. Inside, she locked the door, checked it twice. Kendra was already asleep. The apartment felt suffocating in its silence. Samira pulled up the video again, paused it, zoomed in on the man's face. There was something in his eyes, something that didn't fit the spoiled rich kid story everyone was telling. He didn't look annoyed. He looked careful, controlled, like someone who knew exactly how dangerous the world could be. At 11:47 p.m., her phone buzzed. Email notification. Someone tried logging into her account. Unfamiliar device. Location, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Her blood went cold. She looked toward the window. Outside, the black SUV was still there. The sound woke her at 2:14 a.m. Not loud, just wrong. A scrape against metal, a click that didn't belong. Samira sat up in bed, heart already slamming against her ribs. The apartment was dark except for the thin orange glow of streetlights bleeding through her blinds. Kendra's room down the hall was silent. Another sound, closer this time. The front door. Samira didn't think, she moved, slid out bed without making a sound, grabbed her phone and slipped into her closet. Her hands were shaking so bad she almost dropped it. She dialed 911, pressed the phone to her ear, whispered her address to the dispatcher. "Stay where you are," the woman said. "Officers are on the way. Don't make any noise." Through the crack in the closet door, Samira watched shadows slide across her living room wall. Two figures, big, moving like they knew exactly what they were doing. One of them spoke, a language she didn't recognize, sharp consonants, clipped rhythm. The other one answered, voice low and cold as a blade. They were looking for something, or someone. Samira pressed the phone against her chest, trying to breathe without making a sound. The dispatcher's voice was still going, a tinny buzz chilling her help was coming. Stay calm, stay hidden. Footsteps moved through the apartment, heavy, deliberate, coming toward her bedroom. She'd never felt fear like this before, not the jittery kind before a job interview, not the stomach drop of a near miss on the highway. This was different. This was primal, the kind of terror that shut down everything except the desperate animal need to survive. She thought about her mom, about Kendra sleeping down the hall, completely unaware, about how absolutely stupid it was that she might die in her own closet because she yelled at someone in traffic. The bedroom door opened. Samira pressed herself deeper into the corner, behind hanging jackets and dresses, barely breathing. Through the gap she saw boots, heavy, scuffed leather, close enough to touch. The man stepped further into the room. He was reaching for the closet handle when everything exploded. Tires screeching outside, a car door slamming so hard it echoed, shouts in that same unfamiliar language, but different voices now, urgent, angry. The boots spun, the man ran. Then chaos erupted. Sounds of bodies colliding, grunts of pain, something heavy crashing to the floor, glass breaking, more shouting. Samira stayed frozen, phone clutched to her chest, dispatcher still talking, but the words didn't mean anything anymore. Her entire body was locked in place, brains screaming at her to move, but her muscles refusing to cooperate. The sounds stopped. Footsteps again, slower this time, measured, purposeful, coming toward the closet. The door slid open. Samira's breath caught in her throat. She looked up, ready to scream, ready to fight with her bare hands if she had to, ready for whatever came next. And saw him. The man from the intersection, the one she'd screamed at, called every terrible thing she could think of while strangers recorded and laughed. His knuckles were split open, blood dripping onto her carpet. His face was completely calm, and those eyes, those unnervingly steady eyes, locked onto hers like he'd known exactly where she'd be. "We need to leave," he said quietly, "right now." Samira tried to speak, tried to tell him the police were coming, that help was on the way, that she wasn't going anywhere with him. He glanced at the phone in her hand, then back at her face. "The police can't help you with this." Before she could argue, before she could process anything, he reached down and lifted her, one arm behind her knees, one around her back, like she weighed nothing at all. She was too shocked to protest, too shocked to do anything except let herself be carried out of the closet, through her bedroom, into the hallway. Until they passed the living room. That's when she saw them. Two men on the floor, unconscious, faces she would never, ever forget. And suddenly, Samira understood. This wasn't about traffic anymore. The night air hit her face like ice water. Samira was still in her sleep clothes, oversized t-shirt, cotton shorts, barefoot, being carried through her own parking lot by a man she didn't know, like some scene from a movie she definitely didn't audition for. "Put me down," she managed, voice strangled. He did, immediately, set her on her feet next to that same luxury car from the intersection. "Get in," he said. Samira didn't move. She just stood there, shaking. From cold or fear or the adrenaline still flooding her system, she couldn't tell, and demanded answers. "Who are you? What just happened? Why were those people in my apartment?" He opened the passenger door, face still impossibly calm. "I'll explain in the car. We don't have time." "I'm not going anywhere with you. I don't even know your name." For the first time, something flickered across his expression. Not irritation, something closer to urgency. "Ji-hoon," he said. "My name is Park Ji-hoon, and if you stay here, more will come." Behind them, sirens wailed in the distance. Red and blue lights started painting the edges of the parking lot, getting closer. Samira looked back at her building, at her front door hanging open like a broken mouth, at the life she knew, small and safe and predictable, now shattered into something she didn't recognize. She got in the car. The first 10 minutes she didn't speak, couldn't, just watched Tulsa blur past the window as Ji-hoon drove with the kind of precision that told her he'd done this before. He checked mirrors constantly, took turns that made no sense, doubled back twice through neighborhoods she'd never seen. Her mind was screaming questions, but her body was still trying to catch up, still processing that 20 minutes ago she'd been hiding in a closet, that two men had broken into her home, that this stranger, this man she'd humiliated online, called every name she could think of, had just saved her life. Finally, she found her voice. "Why?" He glanced at her. "Why what? Why did you save me?" His jaw tightened. "Because it's my fault they came for you." Ji-hoon explained as he drove. The video, his face caught on camera, shared thousands of times. He'd been in Tulsa for 3 months, he said, staying invisible, staying safe. One 20-second clip destroyed all of it. "They thought you knew me," he said, "thought you could lead them to me." "Who are they?" He didn't answer right away. They were on the highway now, heading south, away from Tulsa, away from everything Samira had ever known. "People I used to work with," he finally said. "People who want me found." "What kind of work?" Another pause, longer this time. "The kind you don't ask about." Samira's phone buzzed in her hand. Text from Kendra. "Where are you? Cops are here. What happened?" She started typing a response, fingers clumsy, desperate to tell someone, anyone, that she was okay. Ji-hoon's hand covered hers. Gently, firmly. "Don't. That's my roommate. She'll think I'm dead." "If you text her, they'll track the phone, and then she will be in danger." Samira stared at him, at this stranger who knew too much about how danger actually works, about how people got hurt, about things she'd only ever seen in movies. "Who are you?" she whispered. Ji-hoon's eyes stayed locked on the road ahead. "Someone who's been running for a very long time." He paused, then added quieter, "And now you're running with me." A highway sign emerged from the darkness ahead, lit up in the headlights. New Orleans, 487 miles. Samira's entire world was in Tulsa, her job, her apartment, Kendra, her mom an hour away in Oklahoma City. And now she was heading in the opposite direction with a man named Ji-hoon who wouldn't tell her what he'd done or who wanted him dead, only that it was bad enough to break into her home in the middle of the night, bad enough to justify running 500 miles away. What had she gotten herself into? They arrived just after dawn. The house was tucked deep in New Orleans' Garden District, graceful and old, wrapped in wrought iron and climbing vines that looked like they'd been there 100 years. It didn't look like a hideout. It looked like someone's grandmother should be sitting on the porch with sweet tea. Samira was beyond exhausted. Her feet were filthy from the parking lot, her eyes burned from lack of sleep, and she still had absolutely no idea what she was doing here. Ji-hoon parked in a narrow driveway behind the house, hidden from the street. He got out, scanned the area with those careful, calculated eyes, then gestured for her to follow. Inside, the house was sparse but clean. Hardwood floors that creaked under her bare feet, minimal furniture, no photographs, no personal touches, nothing that said anyone actually lived here. It felt like a place designed to be forgotten. "There's a bedroom upstairs," Ji-hoon said. "Clothes in the closet, bathroom down the hall." Samira just stared at him. "That's it? That's all you're going to say?" He set his keys on the kitchen counter. "What do you want me to say? How about, 'Sorry for dragging you into my mess,' or 'Here's the plan to get your life back,' or literally anything that makes this make sense?" Ji-hoon turned to face her fully. For the first time since she'd met him, she saw something other than that maddening calm in his expression. Fatigue, regret, something human. "I didn't ask you to yell at me in traffic. I didn't ask you to get me almost kidnapped." Silence dropped between them, thick and uncomfortable. Then, quieter, "You're right, I'm sorry." The apology caught her completely off guard. Samira sank onto the couch, suddenly aware of just how bone-tired she was, how completely surreal this entire situation felt. "I have a job," she said, voice cracking. "Bills, people who'll wonder where I am." "I know. So what am I supposed to do? Just hide here forever?" Ji-hoon sat across from her, elbows on his knees. "No, just until I figure out how to fix this." "And how long will that take?" He didn't answer, because he didn't know. Samira went upstairs. The bedroom was simple, a bed with white sheets, a dresser, a window overlooking an overgrown backyard where morning light filtered through oak trees. In the closet, she found women's clothes, different sizes, different styles, like someone had prepared for any kind of guest. She showered, standing under water so hot it turned her skin pink, washing away the last 12 hours. When she finally looked in the mirror, she barely recognized the woman staring back. Downstairs, she heard Ji-hoon on the phone, speaking in Korean. His voice was different, sharper, colder, the voice of someone used to giving orders and having them followed without question. When he hung up, the house went silent again. Samira found him in the kitchen, staring at his phone. On the screen, the viral video, still circulating, still racking up views, now at 300,000. "They're looking for me because of this?" she asked. He nodded. "Then delete it, report it, make it go away." "It doesn't work like that. Once it's out there," he trailed off, "it's permanent." Samira felt the full weight of that word, permanent. Her life changed forever because she lost her temper in traffic. "I need to know something," she said, "and I need the truth." Ji-hoon looked at her. "Those men in my apartment, would they have killed me?" His silence was answer enough. "And you?" she pressed. "The people you used to work with, what would they do if they found you?" Ji-hoon's expression hardened into something cold and final. The same thing. Outside, a car drove slowly past the house, engine rumbling low, too slow to be normal traffic. They both froze. Ji-hoon moved to the window, careful to stay hidden behind the curtain, watched the car disappear down the street. "We're safe here," he said. But Samira noticed he didn't move away from the window, and she noticed the way his hand had instinctively moved to his waistband, where she now realized he'd been carrying a gun this entire time. 3 days in the safe house. 3 days of silence, strange routines, and questions Samira didn't know how to ask. Ji-hoon left in the mornings, came back in the evenings. Never said where he'd been, never offered explanations. Samira stayed inside, pacing the hardwood floors, reading old books from the shelf that had no personal inscriptions, trying desperately not to think about the life she'd left behind. On the 4th night, she decided she was done waiting. Dinner was quiet. Ji-hoon had made something simple. Rice, grilled vegetables, fish seasoned with something that smelled like ginger and garlic. He cooked the way he did everything, precisely, without wasted movement, like he'd done it 1,000 times. Samira watched him across the small kitchen table. "You're not going to tell me anything, are you?" "What do you want to know?" "Everything. Who you are, what you did, why people want you dead." He set down his chopsticks carefully. "It's safer if you don't know." "I think we're past safe." Ji-hoon exhaled slowly. Then, to her complete surprise, he started talking. He told her about Busan, about growing up in a port city where money moved in shadows and loyalty was the only currency that mattered. About being 17 and stupid and thinking he could control a world that devoured people like him for breakfast. He didn't use the word mafia, didn't glamorize any of it, just described it like a job that became a cage he couldn't escape. I moved product, he said flatly, managed routes, made people rich, made myself useful enough to keep breathing. And then I wanted out. You don't just leave that world, not without paying a price. Samira pieced together as he spoke. The running, the hiding, the way he watched every door, every window, like he was constantly waiting for something to break through. "So you came to Oklahoma," she said, "of all places." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "No one looks for me in Oklahoma. Until I put you on the internet." The smile died. "Yes." Samira leaned forward. "What happens when they find you?" "They won't." "But if they do?" Ji-hoon's eyes met hers, dark, brutally honest. "Then I handle it." "Handle it how?" He didn't answer, but she saw it written all over his face, the violence he was capable of, the things he'd already done, the man he used to be before he became a ghost. It should have terrified her, maybe it did, somewhere deep down, but there was something else beneath the fear. Curiosity, understanding, the recognition that they were both people who'd been pushed too far by a world that didn't care. "Why did you save me?" Samira asked again. Softer this time. Ji-hoon looked away. "I told you, it was my fault." "That's not the whole reason." A long pause stretched between them. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. "When I saw the video, I saw someone who wasn't afraid to be angry, to take up space, to demand respect." He looked at her then, really looked. "I've spent 3 years making myself invisible, and you reminded me what it feels like to exist." Samira's breath caught in her throat. Before she could respond, before she could process what he'd just said, Ji-hoon's phone buzzed on the table. He glanced at it. His entire body went rigid. "What?" Samira asked. He showed her the screen. A message in Korean characters she couldn't read. Below it, a photo. The safe house. Their safe house. Taken from across the street. The angle showed the front porch, the wrought iron, the climbing vines. Timestamp? Today, 3:47 p.m. "We have to leave," Ji-hoon said, already standing. "Right now." They were in a different house now, smaller, on the outskirts of New Orleans, near the industrial docks where the city turned gray and forgotten, the kind of neighborhood where nobody asked questions. Samira hadn't slept. Every sound made her jump. Every shadow looked like a threat. She kept seeing those men in her apartment, kept hearing the sounds of violence, kept wondering how many more were out there looking for them. Ji-hoon was on the phone again, pacing the small living room, speaking rapid Korean. When he finally hung up, his face looked like it had been carved from stone. "We're safe here," he said, though he didn't sound remotely convinced. Samira laughed, a bitter, exhausted sound that surprised even her. "Safe? We've moved twice in 4 days. Someone is tracking us, and you won't even tell me who." "I'm handling it." "Stop saying that." Her voice cracked, years of frustration finally breaking through. "Stop acting like you're the only one in danger. I lost my job, Ji-hoon. My roommate thinks I'm missing. I can't call my mom. I can't go home. I'm in this, whether you want me to be or not." Ji-hoon stopped pacing, looked at her. Really looked, like he was seeing her for the first time since they'd left Tulsa. "You're right," he said quietly. They sat. No more secrets, no more half-truths. Samira told him about her life, the student loans that felt like a life sentence she'd never escape, the job she hated but desperately needed, the dreams she used to have before reality crushed them, travel, photography, something bigger than medical billing and overdue rent notices. "I was so tired," she admitted, "of being invisible, of working myself to exhaustion for people who didn't even know my name." Ji-hoon listened without interrupting, didn't try to fix it or minimize it, just listened. And when she was done, he told her something he hadn't told anyone. I had a sister, younger. She wanted to be a teacher. Had? His jaw tightened. The people I worked for, they don't forgive debts. When I tried to leave, they made an example. She was in the wrong place, wrong time. Samira's chest constricted. Ji-hoon, that's why I run, he continued, voice flat. Not because I'm afraid of dying, because I'm afraid of being the reason someone else does. Silence settled between them, heavy but not uncomfortable, the kind that only comes from shared pain. I didn't mean to ruin your life, Samira said. You didn't. You reminded me I still have one. Their eyes met, held. Something shifted in the air between them, a warmth that hadn't been there before, an understanding that didn't need words. Ji-hoon stood, crossed to the window, stared out at the gray industrial landscape. I'm going to end this. How? By doing what I should have done 3 years ago. Stop running. Face them. Samira stood too. That's suicide. Maybe. Then I'm not letting you. He turned, genuinely surprised. This isn't your fight. She stepped closer. I'm not sitting in another safe house while you go play hero. We figure this out together or not at all. Ji-hoon stared at her. Then, to her complete shock, he smiled. A real one. Small but genuine. You really don't know when to be quiet, do you? Not even a little bit. He nodded slowly. Good. His phone buzzed. Another message. This time, he showed her without hesitation. An address in New Orleans, some warehouse district she'd never heard of, and a time, tomorrow, midnight. What is this? Samira asked, though part of her already knew. A meeting, Ji-hoon said, with the people who want me dead. The hours before midnight crawled like torture. Ji-hoon prepared like a man heading to war, checking routes on his phone, memorizing exits, moving through the house with focused, lethal intensity. Samira watched him, heart pounding so hard she could hear it. You're really going to meet them? Yes. And you think they'll just talk? He didn't answer. Night fell. Ji-hoon changed clothes, all black, nothing memorable. He told Samira to stay inside, lock the doors, don't answer for anyone. What if you don't come back? She asked. I will. You don't know that. He paused at the door, hand on the knob. If I don't, there's a number in my phone, under K. Call it, tell them where you are. They'll get you home safely. Samira's throat tightened. Ji-hoon? I'll be back, he said again, firmer this time, like saying it out loud could make it true. And then he was gone. Samira paced, checked her watch every 30 seconds, counted minutes. The house was suffocatingly quiet. She thought about her apartment in Tulsa, about Kendra, probably worried out of her mind by now, about her mom, who didn't even know her daughter was missing, about everything she'd lost in less than a week. She thought about Ji-hoon walking into a trap. At 11:47 p.m., she made a decision. Samira found the keys to the second car, a nondescript sedan parked in the small garage. She knew the address from the message, had looked it up while Ji-hoon was getting ready, memorizing the route without really knowing why. An abandoned factory near the port. Of course it was. She drove through empty streets, heart hammering, knowing this was absolutely reckless, knowing Ji-hoon would be furious if he found out, not caring even a little bit. When she arrived, she parked 2 blocks away, hidden in shadow between 2 warehouses. The factory loomed ahead, broken windows like missing teeth, rusted metal, darkness so thick it felt alive. She moved closer, quiet, careful, barefoot again because her shoes would make too much noise on the gravel. Inside, she heard voices, Ji-hoon's, steady, controlled, that same unshakable calm, and others, speaking Korean, harsh, aggressive. She couldn't see them, but she could hear the tension vibrating in every word, the barely restrained violence. Then a sound, metal scraping metal, a struggle, bodies hitting concrete. Samira's breath stopped in her throat. She edged closer to a broken window, peered through the jagged glass. Ji-hoon was on his knees, hands behind his head. 3 men surrounded him, and one, tall, tattooed, scary in a way that made her bones hurt, held a gun to his temple. The man with the gun was speaking, calm, almost conversational, like they were discussing the weather instead of whether Ji-hoon would live through the next 5 minutes. And Ji-hoon was listening, not begging, not pleading, just listening with that same infuriating calm. Samira's hand found her phone. She should call the police, should run, should do literally anything except stand here watching. But she couldn't move, because the man with the gun just asked Ji-hoon a question, and even without understanding Korean, Samira knew exactly what it was. Where is she? Ji-hoon's eyes lifted, and for one terrible, frozen moment, Samira could swear he looked directly at her hiding spot. His answer was quiet, definitive. I don't know. The gun cocked. Samira didn't think. She stepped out from the shadows, phone raised high, flashlight cutting through the darkness like a searchlight. "I'm calling the police," she shouted, voice shakier than she wanted. "Right now!" 4 pairs of eyes turned toward her. Ji-hoon's expression shifted through a dozen emotions in one heartbeat: shock, horror, fury, something that looked almost like grief. The man with the gun laughed, said something in Korean that made the others smile. "The famous woman," he said in heavily accented English, "from the video." He lowered the gun from Ji-hoon's head, pointed it at Samira instead. "Come here." Samira's legs didn't move, couldn't move. Her entire body had locked up. Ji-hoon spoke then, rapid, urgent Korean. The man responded without looking at him, still focused entirely on Samira. "I said, come here." She took one step, then another. Her phone was shaking so badly in her hand, the flashlight beam danced across the walls. Ji-hoon's voice cut through everything. "Samira, run!" The man's smile widened. "Run where? We found you twice already." Samira was 10 feet away now, close enough to see the ink on the man's neck, a tattoo that crept above his collar, some kind of dragon or serpent, close enough to smell cigarette smoke, and something metallic that might have been blood. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. "I don't know anything. I'm nobody." "You became somebody the moment you embarrassed him in front of the world." He gestured at Ji-hoon with the gun. "You made him visible." "That's not my fault." "No, it's his, but you're here now, and that makes you useful." Ji-hoon moved then, fast and brutal. He swept the closest man's legs out from under him, grabbed the second man, twisted him around as a shield. Chaos erupted. Gunfire, not the clean, simple movie kind, sharp, ear-splitting cracks that echoed off metal walls and made Samira's entire skull ring. She dropped, covering her head with her arms, phone clattering away across concrete. When she looked up, 2 men were down. Ji-hoon was bleeding from his shoulder but still standing, still fighting, locked in brutal combat with the tattooed man. No fancy moves, just raw, efficient violence. The gun skidded across the floor, towards Samira. She stared at it. Cold metal, power, protection, everything she'd never wanted to need. She'd never touched a gun in her life. Her hand reached out, fingers wrapped around the grip. It was heavier than she'd expected, colder. Ji-hoon and the tattooed man were locked together, grappling, neither giving an inch. The man saw her, saw the gun in her hands. "Shoot him," he gasped in English. "You want your life back? Shoot him. We'll let you go." Samira's hand shook. The gun wavered between them. Ji-hoon's eyes met hers, blood on his face, breathing hard, exhausted. "Don't," he said quietly. "Why not?" the man hissed. "He brought you into this. He ruined your life. End it." Samira's finger found the trigger. Time slowed to a crawl. She thought about Tulsa, about her apartment with the leaky faucet, about the quiet, invisible life she'd had before all this. She thought about Ji-hoon carrying her out of her closet, about late-night conversations over simple dinners, about the way he'd looked at her when he said she reminded him what it felt like to exist. She made her choice. The gun fired. The sound was absolutely deafening, louder than anything she'd ever heard. The recoil jolted through her entire body. When the ringing in her ears finally faded enough to hear, one man was on the ground, and Samira was still standing, weapon raised, staring in absolute shock at what she'd just done. Samira had shot the floor, 6 inches from the tattooed man's foot, close enough to make him flinch, release Ji-hoon, stumble backward. Ji-hoon didn't hesitate. One precise strike, and the man dropped like a puppet with cut strings. Silence, except for Samira's ragged, gasping breathing. Ji-hoon crossed to her, gently took the gun from her shaking hands. "Are you hurt?" She couldn't speak, couldn't process anything. Her ears were still ringing, her hands still trembling so badly she could barely feel her fingers. "Samira," firmer now, "are you hurt?" "No, I don't think so." He checked anyway, hands on her shoulders, her arms, scanning for blood, for injury, finding nothing but fear and adrenaline. "You shouldn't have come," he said, but there was no anger in it, just bone-deep exhaustion, relief. "I know. You could have been killed. I know. Why did you—" He stopped, because he already knew why, could see it written all over her face. They left the factory, 3 unconscious men behind them, 1 stolen phone for Ji-hoon to call his contact for cleanup. They didn't speak during the drive back, didn't need to. At the safe house, Ji-hoon's shoulder was still bleeding through his black shirt. Samira found the first aid kit under the bathroom sink, made him sit at the kitchen table, started cleaning the wound with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. "I've had worse," he said. "That doesn't make me feel better." She worked in silence, antiseptic that made him once, gauze wrapped carefully around his shoulder. Her fingers kept brushing his skin, warm, surprisingly soft despite all the violence she just witnessed him commit. "Thank you," Ji-hoon said quietly. "For what? Almost getting us both killed?" "For not shooting me." She laughed, a broken, breathless sound that was half sob. "The bar is really low, huh?" "In my world, yes." Samira finished bandaging him, but she didn't move away, couldn't seem to make herself step back. Their faces were close. She could see every detail, the exhaustion in his eyes, the weight he carried like armor, the cracks starting to show through. "You saved my life," she whispered. "Again." "You saved mine first, at the factory. I missed on purpose." "I know." His hand lifted slowly, hesitated in the air between them, then touched her cheek, gentle, testing. "Samira." "Don't apologize," she interrupted. "Don't tell me this is dangerous. Don't tell me I should leave." "What should I tell you?" She leaned into his touch. "Tell me the truth." "The truth is, I haven't felt this alive in 3 years," Ji-hoon said, voice rough and raw. "The truth is, every time I look at you, I forget why I'm supposed to keep my distance. Then stop keeping it." He did. The kiss was slow, careful, like they were both terrified of breaking something impossibly fragile. Samira's hands found his face, his hair, pulling him closer. Ji-hoon's arm wrapped around her waist, his good arm, the uninjured one, and lifted her onto the counter. She gasped against his mouth. He pulled back immediately, searching her eyes. "Is this?" "Yes," she breathed. They moved to the bedroom, hands finding skin, breath mixing with breath. The world outside, the danger, the running, the constant fear, faded until there was only this moment, only them. Samira's fingers traced the ink on his chest, dragons and flowers and symbols she didn't understand but desperately wanted to learn. Ji-hoon's hands mapped her body like he was memorizing every curve, every scar, every perfect imperfection. "Stay with me," she whispered against his neck. "Always," he answered. And for the first time since this nightmare started, Samira actually believed tomorrow might come. Morning light filtered through unfamiliar curtains. Samira woke tangled in sheets, in limbs, in the aftermath of a night that had changed absolutely everything. Ji-hoon was already awake, watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. "Hi," she said, suddenly shy in a way that felt ridiculous after everything. "Hi." They didn't talk about it right away. Instead, they moved through the morning like a routine they'd had for years. Coffee brewing, comfortable silence, small gestures that felt natural despite knowing each other barely a week. But eventually, reality crept back in. It always did. "What happens now?" Samira asked. Ji-hoon set down his mug carefully. I've been thinking about that. And? I'm done running. The words hung between them, simple, devastating. What does that mean? It means I'm tired of living like a ghost, tired of looking over my shoulder every second, tired of letting fear control every single choice I make. He looked at her directly. You asked me the other night, who's saving my life? You were right. I've been so focused on surviving, I forgot what I'm surviving for. Samira's heart clenched. So, what are you going to do? End this, properly. Not by hiding, not by running, by handling it the way I should have from the beginning. Which is? There's a man in Busan. He controls the network I used to work for. If I can make a deal with him, give him something he wants more than my life, I can end this. And if he doesn't deal? Ji-hoon's expression hardened into something cold and final. Then I make sure he can't come after me again. Samira understood what he wasn't saying, the violence implied, the permanence. I'm coming with you. No. Ji-hoon. Absolutely not. This is different from the factory. This is his territory, his rules. I won't risk you. They argued then, voices rising, desperation bleeding through every word. You can't protect me by shutting me out, Samira insisted. I can protect you by keeping you away from the most dangerous man I've ever known. Then why even tell me? Why not just disappear in the middle of the night? Ji-hoon stopped. The truth was stark on his face. Because I needed you to know I'm coming back. You can't promise that. I can try. Samira crossed to him, took his face in her hands, forcing him to look at her. Last night wasn't just... it wasn't... She struggled for the right words. You're not alone in this anymore. You understand that, right? Ji-hoon closed his eyes, leaned into her touch like it was the only thing keeping him grounded. I'm not used to that. Get used to it. When he opened his eyes again, there was something different in them. Not quite hope, but close. I'll make the deal, come back, and then we figure out what normal looks like, together. Promise? Promise. 2 days later, Ji-hoon boarded a plane to Busan. Samira watched from the terminal window, heart lodged permanently in her throat, phone clutched so tight in her hand, her knuckles went white. He'd told her not to worry, told her he'd be back in 72 hours. She tried desperately to believe him, but as the plane lifted into gray sky, disappearing into clouds, until it was just a speck and then niffing, all she could think was, what if this is the last time I see him? Her phone buzzed. A text from Ji-hoon. Wait for me. She typed back with shaking fingers. Always. The plane was gone now, just empty sky. Samira stood there for another 20 minutes, staring at nothing, wondering if she'd just made the biggest mistake of her life by letting him go alone, or if trusting him was the bravest thing she'd ever done. 72 hours became 96, then 120. 5 days of complete silence. Samira stayed at the New Orleans safe house, pacing worn paths in the hardwood floors, checking her phone every 30 seconds, jumping at every single notification. Nothing. On the 6th day, her phone rang. Unknown number. Her heart stopped. Hello? Samira James? A woman's voice, American, professional, federal. Who is this? My name is Agent Holloway. I'm with Homeland Security. We need to talk about Park Ji-hoon. Samira's blood went ice cold. The meeting happened in a coffee shop in the French Quarter, public, safe, witnesses everywhere. Agent Holloway was in her 40s, sharp-eyed, carrying a folder Samira absolutely didn't want to see inside. Mr. Park is a person of interest in an ongoing international investigation, Holloway said without preamble. We know he was in Tulsa. We know about the viral video, and we know you've been in contact with him. I don't know where he is. But you did, recently. Samira said nothing. Holloway leaned forward, voice dropping. Listen, we're not interested in prosecuting you. We're interested in the organization he used to work for. If he's willing to cooperate, testify, we can offer protection. Protection? Witness protection, new identity, a life without looking over his shoulder. Samira's mind raced. This could be it, the answer, a way out for both of them. And if he doesn't cooperate? Holloway's expression darkened. Then we can't help him, and neither can you. She slid a card across the table. Plain white, just a name and number. He has 48 hours. After that, we move forward with or without him. Samira stared at the card. Then her phone buzzed in her pocket. A text, finally. I'm coming home. She looked up, but Holloway had already disappeared into the crowd. Ji-hoon arrived that night, exhausted, battered, a fresh cut above his eyebrow, but alive. Samira didn't ask questions, just pulled him inside, wrapped her arms around him, felt his heart beating strong and steady against hers. What happened? She finally whispered. I made the deal. What kind of deal? Ji-hoon pulled back, looked at her with eyes that finally didn't look haunted. The kind that ends this, for good. How? He showed her his phone. A document. Legal, binding. Official seals and signatures. I testified, gave them everything I know about the network. Names, routes, operations. In exchange, he paused. In exchange, I'm free. Free? No more running, no more hiding. They get what they want, I get my life back. Samira's eyes filled with tears. That's amazing. There's more. He handed her Agent Holloway's card. She found you. I know, she offered witness protection. Ji-hoon nodded slowly. She offered it to me, too. New name, new city, completely clean slate. Samira's heart sank like a stone. So you're leaving? Not without you. She froze. What? I'm not asking you to give up your life for mine, Ji-hoon said quickly. But if you wanted, if you were willing, we could start over together, somewhere safe, somewhere normal. Samira stared at him, at this man who'd walked into hell and somehow came back, who was offering her a future she'd never even imagined possible. I need to think about it, she whispered. Of course, take all the time you... 24 hours. Ji-hoon blinked. That's not very... 24 hours, she repeated firmly, because I already know what I'm going to say. I just need one more day to say goodbye to who I used to be. Ji-hoon searched her face. Then, slowly, carefully, he smiled. Okay. Okay. He pulled her close again, and Samira let herself imagine it. A new name, a new city, a new life with this man who'd turned her entire world upside down. It was terrifying. It was impossible. It was exactly what she wanted. Samira stood outside her old apartment in Tulsa. The door had been repaired. New locks, fresh paint, like nothing had ever happened. Kendra opened it, eyes going wide as dinner plates. Oh my God! They hugged, cried, talked for 3 hours straight without stopping. Samira told her everything, well, almost everything. The parts that mattered, the parts Kendra would actually believe. So you're leaving? Kendra said finally, voice small. Yeah. With him? Yeah. And you're sure? Samira thought about the last 3 weeks, the fear, the danger, the moments she genuinely thought she would die, and then the other moments, the late-night conversations, the vulnerability, the night everything changed between them. I've never been more sure of anything. Kendra hugged her again, tighter this time. Then go. Be happy and text me when you can. I will. Samira visited her mother next. Didn't tell her the whole truth, just that she'd gotten a new job opportunity, out of state, fresh start, better pay. Her mother looked at her for a long time, then smiled in that knowing way mothers do. You look different, she said. Different how? Alive. 3 days later, Samira and Ji-hoon met Agent Holloway at a federal building downtown, signed papers, got new IDs with names that felt strange in their mouths, new social security numbers, new birth certificates, new lives printed on official documents, their pasts officially erased. Where will you go? Holloway asked. Ji-hoon looked at Samira. She looked back. Somewhere quiet, with good coffee, Samira said. Good luck. 6 months later, a small town in Oregon. Mountains in the distance, snow-capped and beautiful. Coffee shop on the corner of Main Street. Samira was behind the counter, laughing at something a regular customer had just said. Her hair was shorter now, cut into a bob that framed her face differently. She wore glasses, part of the new identity, but she'd discovered she actually liked them. The door chimed. Ji-hoon walked in carrying groceries, looking more relaxed than she'd ever seen him. No tension in his shoulders, no constant scanning of exits. Busy day, he asked. The usual. He leaned across the counter, kissed her quickly. I'm making dinner tonight. Another experiment? Maybe. She grinned. Can't wait. That night, in their small house on the edge of town with the wraparound porch and overgrown garden, they ate together, talked about their day like normal people, made plans for the weekend, hiking maybe, or that farmer's market in the next town over. Normal things. Beautiful, ordinary things. Before bed, Samira checked her phone. An email from Kendra, photos of her new apartment in Dallas. A message, miss you so much, but I'm so glad you're happy. She typed back, me too. Ji-hoon appeared in the doorway. Coming to bed? Samira set down her phone, crossed to him. Yeah. He wrapped his arms around her. She fit perfectly against his chest. Do you miss it? He asked quietly. Your old life? She thought about it. Really, honestly thought. No, she said. I miss parts of it. Kendra, my mom, but not enough to go back. No regrets? She looked up at him, at this man who'd saved her life, challenged her, loved her in ways she hadn't known she needed. None. They stood there, wrapped in each other, in a life they'd built from ashes and second chances and one viral video that had changed everything. Outside, the world kept turning, but inside, they were finally home. The end. Thank you for joining K-Stories by Emma for this incredible journey. If you loved this story, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support means everything. Until next time, believe in love, fight for what matters, and never give up on redemption. This is Emma, signing off.